All right, so this is my review of Earnestcore's Rosado, or I think her name is Sekiko, I'm not sure, but recent release, and let's get right into it. So I got her from Gundam for about $65 flat, if you're interested in picking her up. So let's start the review with her aesthetics, and just get a close-up right away. Let's get the camera to focus. And yeah, so she looks really good, I think. Very clean. Very sharp lines here. Decals are very sharp. And let's just get her kind of straight. And I'm actually just going to take off this piece here. We'll talk about that in a second. Just to make this part a little bit easier. So, yeah, so looks good overall. Very sharp decals pretty much everywhere. She's got that whole cyborg sci-fi aesthetic. I'm a sucker for that. And yeah, very nice with the decals. And you actually don't have to put them on yourself, which is great. Red and black, really nice color combination. I'm a sucker for any figure that has red in it. And yeah, she looks good. So get that out of the way right away. I think she's perfect. I don't really see any flaws here. 5 out of 5, I'd say. So let's see how tall she is. And getting her to stand is a bit of a challenge because of just the way her feet are set up. But I will say, for what they went with in terms of her ankles, she stands pretty well, and we'll talk about that in a second. So get her facing this way. And let's just see how tall she is. So she's definitely bigger than your 112 scale figures, for sure. And I find that kind of unique. Like, I don't need all my figures to be 1/6, 112 scale, my mistake. So she really does stand out, and she's like a cyborg, so I don't really mind. I think it fits her kind of look. So she's just shy of around 7 inches, and you could really say she is 7 inches if she's standing completely straight. Yeah, so she's definitely got some size to her. So, if you're strictly 1/12 or whatever, I mean, you could fudge it because, she's a sci-fi character. Like, the sky's the limit with realism when you're talking about characters like these. So she will fit with your 1/12 scale figure. She's got cybernetic legs. So, yeah, she's basically dead 7 inches. So, pretty big figure. And I personally like that. And continuing with her dimensions, let's see how much she weighs. And let's see. Now, this is kind of a disappointing, and this is just for me specifically, but she feels a little bit lightweight. Okay, so it's like and she's $65. That's something to keep in mind also. But she definitely doesn't have as premium as a feel as like some other figures that are coming out of this like kind of cybernetic lady aesthetic. And I'm talking about that previous review I did, like Sunflower Girl, forgot her name. She feels much more substantial in hand, and compared to someone like her, Barbara Red, this is in its own league. This is going to be an upcoming review, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, but I will say this, and she has kind of like a model kit feel to her. Can you hear that kind of like that tinny sound? It's not terrible. Like, she doesn't feel like a straight model kit, but it does feel like that type of plastic quality. Like this plastic belt here, very cheap quality. So something to keep in mind. And like, it's not like the density isn't there. So it does feel a little strange at times, but not a deal breaker. And some people don't even care. This is just my own little gripe. But no big deal. So 1.5 ounces for someone her size just feels a little kind of light. But let's continue straight into, and actually, so for her aesthetics, might have already said it, but yeah, she gets a 5 out of 5 regardless, so she's great. And let's go straight into articulation, right? So her head is on a ball joint, and so the light's really messing with her because she's got white hair. So head's on a ball joint, very nice. Neck is on its own joint too, so you could really go all out with the head movement. Insane. So that's really nice. Arms do have a little bit of a butterfly joint in there. They go up. It is limited by that shoulder piece. Be careful with that. So you don't want to break that. Let's see. Elbows on a double joint. A little bit inhibited, but still excellent. And let's see. Let's get her arms out of the way. Upper diaphragm is on a ball joint. And just see how far she can bend forward. Very nice. And let's see, there is no lower diaphragm joint, which is a little disappointing. Could have had so much more movement out of that. It's just like a solid piece right there. But decent movement on that upper. And she goes back very far. So not bad at all. And let's see her legs. So be careful with the legs. They tend to get stuck sometimes because the way they angled that ball joint in there makes it kind of get hooked on, like a little tricky, but not a big deal. And, don't force it because, this plastic doesn't feel like the strongest. Doesn't feel cheap. So just let me be clear about that. It's just not as premium or kind of dense as you'd expect from some other lines. Okay. And like I said, be careful. Do not force these legs. The way they did them is a little awkward. They could have got better movement out of this leg, I feel. Like she can't do a full split. Comes up excellent, though. Goes back about that much. She does have a swivel up here, which is hidden very well. That's good. And knees, double jointed knees. The legs are really cool. So if you play Deus Ex, you're really going to like this figure. Seems like one of those types of cyborgs. Let's see what else she's got going on here. Now, I'll say this. So the ankles, they did an excellent job. They kept it simple. They just used a good old-fashioned ball joint. Nothing fancy. So adjusting her, and when I said like she has some trouble standing, in these kind of ridiculous high heels, they did a damn good job. So she has a ball joint here, so very easy to adjust her. Because these people were paying attention and they know ankles are so important just for like, standing, posing. And what I thought was insane is, look at this, there's another ball joint in here. So you could really go crazy with this figure. That's excellent. Okay. What else? So as far as her articulation goes, it's excellent. Now, the only reason I'm going to drop her rating in this category a little bit is because the plastic does feel a little cheap. So this category, I include just like overall quality. So she's good, and articulation's great, but she's going to get a 3.5, only because she feels a little cheap in hand. But other than that, she feels sure. Her articulation's pretty good. Little disappointing is the leg movement is the most. It's kind of like the weakest aspect of her articulation. Like she can't. It's going to break if you go farther than that. For a character like this, you'd expect her to be much, much more flexible than that. Disappointing that there's no lower diaphragm, so I think 3.5 is very fair. But no complaints, still a solid score, I think. Okay, now let's talk about her accessories, and she comes with a ton. So let me just get her to stand here. Again, still a little tricky, just because that's going to be the nature of it with ankles that look like this. And I will say, you know, when you're taking her out of the box and kind of taking her accessories out, be very careful because she comes with so many kind of like tiny, tiny accessories. So very easy to get them lost. Uh, so, you know, keep like a Ziploc or whatever just on standby. Okay. So she does come with this kind of shoulder attachment. Insane. That's just sick. So I think that looks great. It's got like this insect kind of scaled, like layered armored look to it. And everything is on a ball joint. So this thing, you know, when I bought this figure, I thought, okay, this is going to be a nightmare with these finicky accessories. Not the case, because everything is just old-fashioned ball joint. Not one of those horrible ball swivels. Just ball joints, everything. So if you want this thing to move out of the way, open up, it just does it. Like it's not a pain at all. And to put it in, I'll just show you here. Just plug straight into her back like that. So that looks great. And like I said, you could have it kind of like covering her up here like this. Very fun to just adjust and things like that. Okay, and most obvious accessory is kind of this hip attachment. And let's just talk about this for a second because it's a little complicated. This goes basically into her lower back right there. This little fox piece, just a tail attachment, just plug it straight in there like this. And this is essentially just like a sheath for the sword she comes with. And speaking of the swords, she comes with two pairs, kind of like a straight edged pair like this, which looks excellent, I think. That's pretty cool. And she does come with a pair of kind of like curved sabers. So if you want to go that route, you definitely have those too. And what's cool about this kind of attachment is these things open up. So you could go really crazy. Like you could have her kind of drawing this while it's floating in the air, like some crazy cyborg shit. But yeah, that's really cool that it opens up like that. So that's sick. Very creative. And I'm still kind of learning about this figure because there's just so much to it. And really fun to play with though. And if you want to put it back in, not a big deal. It just snaps in like that. No looseness, no kind of annoying adjusting going on with this figure. Just very fun to deal with, which was a shock because I thought this is going to be like a nightmare. If you just want to see what it looks like, kind of attached. Oh, and I will say one thing. So technically, when you put this on, you're supposed to kind of put this little butt plate on too. Be very careful with these because there's an alternate plate that goes on her that she comes with. Uh, that has a plug in it. It's just kind of like the one that she comes with, like it's already attached onto her. Be very careful taking it off because the other piece, not this one, mine got kind of warped when I took it off. So be very careful because it was kind of a bitch to get it out. But that's my own fault. So that's not on them. I could have been a little bit more careful there. And let me see. Something just fell off her. I don't know what that is actually. Oh, I see. Okay, so like I said, be very careful. You see, she has like a little flower on her hip. Uh, Mine just popped off on this side. Okay, so be very careful. See, that's what I mean. Just keep tabs on this figure because there's a lot of little pieces. So good thing that didn't break. Yeah, but anyway, this is what it looks like on her. The foxtail is so cool. Like that's just such a nice touch. Really adds kind of like a cool look to her. So I think that looks great. Yeah, and that's kind of like the main two accessories she comes with. That's kind of like her aesthetic. These like kind of floating pieces around her. So I think those look great on her. And like I said, see, it's not even a huge issue getting her to stand. She does come with this kind of like bendy scarf. Just get her to face the camera a little bit. And, you know, good thing for those ball joints in the ankles, because otherwise this would have been a bear to deal with. So she comes with this kind of bendy scarf. You could get this around her head. That's a nice touch too. All right, and some more accessories that she comes with. Let's just take a quick look at them. And what I thought was really cool is they do give her alternate set of ears if you want to go that way. Some cat ears, and let me actually just plug a face onto that just so you can see. Show her one of the alternate faces right now with the two. So these kind of figures, they just come with like an overwhelming number of accessories, and no complaints, and it'll probably take time to like go through all of them. But you can see even an alternate set of kind of like bangs. So just to kind of give you an idea of what she looks like. There. So you have so much kind of like options going with this character. Like there's just so much you could kind of like switch around, and it almost looks like a completely different person. So a lot of options there. That's with the alternate head. And let's see, what else does she have? And to show you another alternate face that she has. Let's just get all this crap out. And okay. All right. So, and be very careful. So many tiny accessories to lose on this one. But here's another alternate face. Kind of like angry eyes. That looks pretty good. And let's see what else. So two alternate faces. This is the piece I was talking about. I got kind of warped on mine. So be very careful taking this out when you get her. Gundam is trying to get me a replacement, so that's good. But not a huge deal because I barely ever use it. I prefer her with the foxtail anyway. So let's take a look. This piece just plugs into the back if you want to just have her kind of bare without any attachment. Same thing. So like I said, lots of tiny pieces. This one just goes into her upper back if you don't want anything kind of hanging in her back like those these things. You could just kind of plug that in. Okay, tons of hands. Let's just go through them. She's got like these kind of like claw hands. Okay, let's just let her stay like that. And sorry about the camera. Let's see. Okay. Not sure what that is, but it looks like a sword holding hand. You get that? Tons of hands. I'm not really sure why some of them exist, because a lot of them seem redundant. Same thing, this just looks like a kind of like gripping hand, I guess, for the swords. You get like these open hands. That's pretty good. Another, like I said, some of these they just feel kind of redundant. More open hands. Not sure what the difference is, but you get the variety, I guess. More semi-open hands. You get some fists. And you get more sword holding hands. So yeah, again, I don't know, it looks redundant. I didn't have time to look at all of them, but you do get that. Now, pretty common with these new figures is you do get like kind of like this piece here. You could go behind this faceplate and kind of adjust her eyes, which is a thing now. I'm not sure why, but it's there. So you use this tool to do it. Not sure why or what the point of that is. Not really a feature for me. It's just kind of whatever. But some people might be more creative. Anyway, so those are the more kind of intricate accessories. But accessories get a 5 out of 5, so very generous with the accessories. No complaints there. So overall value for this figure is easy 5 out of 5. So if you're into this kind of like sci-fi aesthetic, I think you'll really like this one. She looks great, and she's only $65 for everything she comes with. I think that's a really good deal. So her overall rating is going to be a 4.4, and she looks great. Articulation's good. Has some kind of setbacks like the legs, no diaphragm joint, no lower diaphragm joint. Accessories 5 out of 5. Overall value 5 out of 5. So she gets overall rating 4.4. Very solid buy if you like this kind of figure. And then let's just put her next to some other figures for comparison. Oh, I will mention one thing. She does come with a stand also. Looks really nice. I'll just mention that now. Annoying thing is they kind of want you to assemble the kind of arm yourself, which is a pain. So, but I don't use stands anyway, so who cares? Okay, so let's just get her next to Sunflower, and these two look so good next to each other because they're essentially the same thing. They're just like random cyborg people. So I think that looks great. So that's a really cool look. And let's get them next to, and these are all, they're both the same height. Another one. Get them next to my most one. Yeah, so these kind of characters with the high heels, just watch them because they tend to dive. So there she is next to Barbara Red. Can't even get her in shot with her because Barbara's so tall. But yeah, some comparisons for people who are into this type of kind of like cybernetic lady thing, which is weird because these figures just kind of came pouring out like maybe what, like 2-3 years ago. But no complaints from me. These characters are really cool looking. So if you like her, grab her. She's on Gundam It. That's where I got her. I think $65 is a steal. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and subscribe. More reviews coming.